Okay, testing the audio, just making sure that everything is back up and running. Sorry for that short intermission, and apologies to Russell. It is one thing I've learned, even in a short time, I need to buy a new computer or pedal faster. So hopefully you can hear me alright. My name's Adam Ralph. I'm a chess organiser from northwest London. I organise a lot of chess tournaments, but tonight I am part of the chesspatzer community. My handle is chesspatzerIND, and I'm playing a match against chesspatzerBARN, and BARN stands for Barnsley, I believe, not Barnet. Not quite sure why it's BARN and not just BAR, but chesspatzerBARN, otherwise known as Russell. So, hopefully, we are going to play 5-minute countdown. I don't know if you've ever played this at your chess club, but it's great fun. Basically, you play 5 minutes each, and every time you win a game, you lose a minute. Which sounds fairly straightforward, but it means that the stronger player on paper quite often wins a couple of quick games and then starts to go spectacularly wrong as they approach bullet chess. And I have to tell you, between you and me, bullet chess is not my friend. I've watched other people play lots of bullet chess online, and it just amazes me how much they can get into 60 seconds. So if you're on the chat and you're watching this, send me a message, let me know everything is working okay, and Russell, if you're out there, send me a challenge and we'll play a 5-minute game to start. If you're interested in tournaments that I run, you can normally find information about those at chessengland.com. Everything looking fairly weird on the screen. Probably a function of my laptop. I have a good collection of laptops, each one of which seems to be slower than the previous one, unlike other people who buy a new machine and they tend to go up in quality and speed. For some reason I tend to go the other way. And I have got some of the slowest laptops in the world. Great, here we go. So let's play our first 5-minute game and see if we can play some interesting chess. So 5 minutes each, and I have to remember the colours as well. So you might want to do the challenging. Since I'm completely inept, I'll try and keep score, and we'll see how we get on. So first move c3. Well, I'm assuming he's going to play d4, and I like the Dutch, so I don't see any problem with that. I'm going to play a Dutch formation. I'm not going to try to be too ambitious, and just try and fill the centre with pawns gradually. In the Dutch, it has to be said, e5 is the ambition, and the way White's playing, can't put his knight on c3, therefore e4 is harder to achieve. It's not going to challenge me in the centre, so I could play something more aggressive like a Leningrad. Then my bishop is on that diagonal. Oops, not that diagonal, that diagonal. But I'm going to carry on with my classical Dutch formation. Chesspatzer UK says, don't underestimate him. Well, I never underestimate anyone. Knight d2, so he's going to go for e4. Not worried about that too much. Just keep developing. Now it's possible that I should have played knight c6 and e5 quite quickly, and I might live to regret this. But he says A, must say B, and I'm gonna play it now. See what happens. So the chesspatzer community, this is a really good idea from Chesspatzer UK, otherwise known as Jack Tavillier, who plays in lots of my events at Hampstead or Golders Green. Really good idea because it gives everybody a chance to assume another identity. In my case, chesspatzerIND for India. And it gives them a chance to play some really interesting challenge matches, which they wouldn't normally have been able to organise themselves. Now d5, you see, I'm always happy when people release the tension in the centre. Anytime I don't have to think about d takes e5 now. d5 is probably something I would have not expected and welcomed, because if he wants to attack on the queen side, it's going to take him another move or so. And now what I want is for him to castle so that I can play f4 and attack him on the king side. So my natural inclination is to play queen e8 and then queen h5 and get attacking. Do I want him to play f4? No, not particularly. Do I want to sacrifice a pawn on f4 and play queen h5? If I play queen h5 now, he might play f4. It does look a bit shaky, so I'm going to do it. If he plays f4 here, I think I might have knight g4 and then knight e3, forking his queen and rook. So he has to be quite careful in this position. Yes, be careful. Yeah. Chesspatzer UK is looking forward to be going down to 1 minute, which is a bit unkind to us, but if it happens, you might see the fur fly, because there's nothing you can do with 1 minute except to kind of pre-move most of the game. Now White is thinking about this. He's played f4. What's he going to do if I go knight g4, threatening checkmate on h2? He has to defend that by playing h3, and then I go knight e3, and I don't believe he has an answer to that. So I'm going to play it. I might have to go backwards if I've made a mistake. If he plays knight f3, which I hadn't even thought of, e4 is hanging. So knight f3 looks like a natural response. And I'll tell you what, it's interesting. Somebody said to me the other day, how do you improve your chess? And I said, well, you've got to play chess, and then you've got to write the game down, and then you've got to complete the learning cycle by going back over your games with somebody stronger and try and see where you went wrong, and put the games in a notebook and write comments as soon as possible after the game. I think I have to play d takes e4. As soon as possible after the game, while they're fresh in your mind, and then look at it with a stronger player, and then compare your thoughts with the thoughts of the stronger player, or an engine, if you've only got an engine to work with. But to be honest with you, even in the short time I've been streaming live chess and talking about it, even though it's really hard, almost impossible to play chess and talk at the same time, and play chess to such a high level that you're playing sensible moves, I found looking back at the streams quite interesting, because it's amazing the sort of stuff you miss when you're desperately trying to talk your way through the game. Actually, I've seen some streamers, they don't really talk during the games, they just play, especially if they're playing bullet chess. I'm thinking of King's Crusher and players like that. Bullet chess doesn't really give you a lot of time to think and talk. You just got to move. So I'm going to have to take that and play queen takes h4 and try and mate him on h2 again. Percy, I know your true identity now. I was expecting practice blitz while cars whiz by outside. Well, I have no choice. You know, I'm on a main road and I'm kind of stuck. I'm stuck with it. Somebody's challenged me to a game. At the moment I'm playing a challenge match. So if you're watching this live and you know you'd like a game, at the moment I'm going to play a challenge match. It's going to be 5-minute countdown, and after that I probably need a break. But generally I would be quite happy to play challenge matches, especially against subscribers, let's say, players I know and subscribers, because I have a feeling that would be great practice for me and quite nice for you too. So in the future, if I'm online and you're watching one of these streams live, please feel free to challenge me, because normally I just pick somebody at random, you know, or put it out into the system and somebody is chosen for me, and they're usually quite strong. But it would be quite interesting to play a range of players and maybe commentate on the games as we go through. So queen d2, I think he wants to play that and swap off, which is a fair ambition, but at this point I believe it's in my it's in my interest to swap things off, because I'm basically material up. I don't mind swapping stuff off at this point. You know, it's good for me. Generally, if you're material ahead, it's a good thing to swap more material off. In my case, rooks. Oh, I see he wants that pawn. Okay, I don't mind. Just swap everything off. And hopefully, even I can win this pawn ending. Yeah. So white could play knight takes e4, and then I'll swap everything off, and hopefully bring my king in to the centre and push my kingside pawns. Hopefully, I should be winning that. Even I should win that with my endgame skills. So theoretically, what we should do now is I click rematch, and then wait a minute, because I go down a minute. So if I click rematch, we should reverse colours, so I should be white in the next game. And I was black in that game, and I should be white in the next game. Thank you very much, Percy. I did a tournament today for a friend of mine. We ran a junior event with about 90 players in 2 sections, and some of these juniors are just astonishing. I mean, they start in this tournament, they started at 5 years old, and the oldest might have been about 15, but most of them were under 12, and some of the players are already veterans. I mean, at 12 they've been playing 7 years. They played hundreds of games, and they're very impressive. So let's see, if I accept this challenge, I should be white in the next game. Let's see, I am white. 4 minutes, and I should be able to give you, my opponent, an extra minute. There you go. So I'm gonna vary it up a bit here, and I'm gonna play e4. I've got 4 minutes against 5, and I'm going to play, haven't played this for so long, something normal. I'm going to play a Roy Lopez. And I'll be honest, I watched a game my opponent played online, and I suspect I know what kind of lines he likes to play in the Roy Lopez, so I'm going to just carry on with my favourite setup. If I play a Roy Lopez, then for me this is the way to go. I don't go for learning too much opening theory. When I do, it's good, but generally I try not to spend a lot of time memorising variations, and there are a lot of variations to learn in the open games. If you decide to play e4, e5, you're going to have to learn a lot of theory whether you like it or not. And you'll win a lot of quick games as a result. But most importantly, you'll probably play some interesting chess. I know that Chesspatzer UK said on another stream that he learned how to play the Roy Lopez by simply playing hundreds of games. But I'll tell you something interesting, that I got friends who do nothing but play in tournaments, and they play in a year. They might play hundreds of games, and their grades never change one way or the other. They never get better, and sometimes they slide back. They get slightly worse, and quite often people do that, and they wonder why. Why have they not improved their game? And I'm just going to play a move, and I'll have a think about that. Knight c4 is a good move. I think it's time for me to do that and castle into safety. I've still got the option of attacking on the king side. Okay, so what they don't do when they play a lot of chess is they don't review their games afterwards. So the best way of improving, if you play a lot of chess, it's great, but you've got to sit down with those games at some point, preferably as soon as possible, and look at where you went wrong in the games you lost. Bishop c5 is another good move. I think I'll just castle, play something sensible. Now I can play bishop g5, and I can possibly play knight h5. That might be tricky. And if he plays h6, that might be a good target for me. So I'm going to put my bishop on g5, and then I'm going to play rook d1 and see what he does. He has got knight takes b2 at some point, but I'm not so worried about that. I get this nice diagonal, and I'm also threatening to come in crunch. If he doesn't play queen e7, I'm going to take on f6 and crunch his king side. Oh, that's a good move. And now I'm going to do something cheeky. I'm going to play bishop back to c1. I know this is a nasty move to play, but it's actually quite a good square. And if I could have rearranged my pieces in a more perfect way, I can't think of how. Percy says, that's what my mate told me, don't worry about your opponent's prepping. Most guys just go, oh, he plays the French, sorted. Okay, I have a friend who has done nothing his whole career except play g3 and g6, so he knows what he's going to play. Play something like an English with white, and he plays something like a modern Piet setup with black. And you know what? He constantly plays into the same 4 variations, so he never goes back to his books and have a look and see why he lost a game, and then maybe think about improving slightly, you know, the next time he plays. Knight f5 takes d6 is a threat, and I've also got something takes h6 is a threat. And if I can put my bishop back on e3, this is also going to be hanging if I take on d6. So I've got a few ideas here, and I've got quite a lot of time to think about it. This kingside attack, by the way, knight b1 to d2 to f1 to g3 to f5, is very thematic from the white's point of view in a Spanish, Roy Lopez. And now I'm going to play bishop e3 and see if he goes for knight takes e4, which will probably lose a piece because I can take on d6 twice and then that's hanging. But it is tempting. Maybe he'll go for it. It's possible he might not go for it because he's looking at the stream himself. That wasn't Dave Norwood, it was just a club mate of mine. Not someone you'll know. Now that just drops a piece. Tactically he's missed the fact that I can take on d6 and then b6, or I can do it this way round. I think I'll do it this way round. And he's going to lose a piece on d6. So rook takes d6 or knight takes d6. I actually want to exchange off a few pieces now. Now that I'm a piece up, just exchanging pieces again is a good plan. And double the rooks on the d file. Now Percy Hepworth says something quite interesting. He says, I'm daft enough to memorise lines of the English. And the interesting thing about the English is it's one of those openings where I don't think you should be trying to memorise anything. I think you should be trying to play through games by people who are well known for playing the English and play it well. Grandmasters, masters. Somebody like Tony Coston's written a fantastic book on the English, if you can get hold of that, which I recommend to my students, and I have students who like to play the English. Just play through loads of games and think about the ideas that white employs in order to win the games. Don't try and memorise the variations, just look at the typical positions that you get when you're playing the English. I can do a stream about something simple like that, but you've got to find a key player, somebody that's a role model who you quite like the look of, and maybe is still playing chess actively, so you can follow their career and see how they deal with slightly weaker players when they play the English. So Tony Coston's book is great, but just chessgames.com, there's some fantastic games on there in the English. So now I think I've got black, and I need to give my opponent 5 minutes. Oops, I've given him too much, but that's okay. So I've got 3 and he's got 5. That's okay. So we're going to play a Dutch again, because I was a fan of the Dutch before I got Simon Williams' DVD and books. I've always been a great fan of the Dutch. I know positionally it's really not very good, but tactically I love it. And it has a very simple theme. The theme is play e5. My opponent is actually tempting me to play e5 straight away, and this is a line of the English Percy will recognise. Okay, let's go for it. So in these sorts of lines in English, black's plan is to attack on the king side and white's plan is to expand on the queen side. The question is, whose attack gets there first? Now normally black would play g6 and bishop g7, and it takes an extra move, and I don't. I just play bishop e7 with the idea that black has already achieved his ideal formation that he's looking for in a classical Dutch. So I'm quite happy with the position. I've already achieved e5, and white's going to play a3 and b4 and attack me on the queen side. I can cope with that. I'm going to attack on the king side. Since I'm attacking the king I'm quite happy with that. So let's do what I did in the last game, which is manoeuvre my queen to h5. And if you've noticed something, I didn't play a5, which is what most people play instantly when they see a3 or rook b1 and b4. It's because I learned from another player who I showed some of my games in the Dutch, this kind of line, Dutch against the English, and I always seem to lose them, and he said the reason you lose in this variation is because you play a5 and take on b4, and then your opponent gets to use the rook file and you don't get to use it. And he was absolutely right. So bishop g5 is a good move. Good move. This is quite a useful piece. I don't really want to exchange it off, but there you go. The bishop takes f6 line is quite a nice idea. Because that knight that was there is quite a useful attacking piece. Okay, if you managed to hear did you hear the motorcycles? The motorcycle race just outside. That's what we get here, pretty much all day and all night. Unless the traffic on the A41 is so heavy, nothing is moving, in which case it's paradise. Now white should probably be playing knight d5 and b4, just theme. And I'm going to play something like f4 with the idea of bishop h3 exchanging off that dangerous g2 bishop, but he's blocked it in, so maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just play bishop g4. Yeah, I've actually bought a microphone, and I'm trying to get it to work with this computer. It should theoretically be a sort of directional microphone, but knowing my luck, it probably won't work like that. It probably just amplify the outside noise. But once I get it to work, I know Chesspatzer UK has had some problems with audio. Once I get that to work, it might cut down the outside noise. Yeah, the biker cafe on the A406 is a little bit further along. Not somewhere I've ever been to, but it's famous. Now white's in trouble because he played this non-thematic knight move. I mean, where's that knight going? What was the thinking behind that move? I would like to know, because I don't think he had anything to worry about too much. He's just got to crack on and play b4. This way you get into trouble. Having played f4, you've got to be looking at what am I going to do with my pieces, and bishop g4 is something you should be looking for. Now, how do I mate him? I've got 1 minute 42. Don't really want to swap queens off, but I will if I have to. I'm going to double rooks on the f file, and then I'm going to open it. That cannot be a bad idea. Don't mind swapping off. I'm going to bring my pieces to active squares. If he plays knight d5 to f6, again, I'm not going to worry about that because his knight's quite a useful piece. My bishop is pretty useless. So even though I've got an extra piece, that bishop ain't going nowhere. Going to double rooks. Although possibly I could have played f3 check and tried to mate him. I don't see a way of doing that. I want really to open the f file. And perhaps at this point it might be a good idea to play c6 to stop him coming to that active square d5. And I'm going to play b5 and open up the position for my rooks. If I can. If he lets me. But we'll see. More importantly, he's going to run out of time and then I'm going to be left with 2 minutes against 5, which is getting to the point where it gets very uncomfortable. Okay, so we'll take that, and then we'll occupy the B file. So I'm occupying the file, and I want to play rook b2 and swap some pieces off, as I have that extra bishop up. And it's quite hard for white to generate any counterplay without that knight. That knight was a really useful piece. So, sorry, Russell, I think it's going to be a difficult one for you. Yeah, it was always going to be difficult. I was going to bring my king here and just take that pawn, hopefully. With any luck, we'll play rook b5 and take on d5. So I managed to win that. And now I'm on 2 minutes against 5, and I've got white. 2 minutes is bordering on, not the insane, but it's bordering on uncomfortable. And I think we are officially with 2 minutes each, or me and 2 minutes. Are we in bullet territory? I guess we are. We'll see what happens. But 2 minutes is still quite a lot of chess. If you can play, should have white. If I give him 5 minutes, that should work. Perfect. And I'll do it again. I'm going to play e4, and I'm going to go for the same kind of line in the Spanish. Let's see what happens. You notice I'm consistent. I'm not letting him get an open Spanish. I hope you appreciate that. I'm trying to avoid the open Spanish. Open games generally. So we'll see if I can develop a kingside attack in this position, in the sort of same vein that I did in the previous games. Aha, so he doesn't play d5. Now I'm not sure that that's an improvement. It depends what he does with his other pieces, because he played d5 before and took on e4, and actually that's a very good line to play. Just softening up the e4 square, got the c4 square for his knight. But if he's playing d6, he's probably angling for c5 and c4. And I'm going to go for a similar position on the king side. I'm saving another line for if I get down to 1 minute and I'm playing the white side. There's another line that I would play, which is less subtle than this, but it's quite good in bullet. But in this sort of position, just put the pieces on good squares. As I said, knight b1 to d2 to f1 to g3 isn't bad. People always say, well, what am I going to do with the knight on b1? It doesn't seem to have any squares. Well, you rearrange your pieces. Okay, so is he thinking about f5? I don't know. Another plan for white in this position is to grab space on, I don't mind that, on the queen side with b4. Now he's chucking pawns at me, which is extremely kind of him. So b4 is a good plan, because once you take on b4, the knight has to move, and then I go bishop b3 check. I've got this lovely diagonal back. The bonus in this position is he's helped me by playing f5. So now I've got the diagonal, and it's pointing at his king. So I'm probably going to play b4 and see if I can have some fun on the diagonal. Taking back. Just to kick this knight so it's not controlling b3 anymore. Right, now I've got some plans with bishop b3 check. And I think I need to put my rook on e1 first because I want to be able to take on c5 and threaten this pawn. And I want to be able to play bishop b3 check, and when he plays d5 then his pawn is hanging. So rook e1, put his centre under pressure. It's not easy to hang on to that centre. I'm not so much worried about the fact that I'm a pawn up. I'm more interested in taking over some squares in the centre. As you can see on the left hand side, got bullet rating rather, significantly lower than our normal ratings. You are going down in the 1 minute game. Okay, so I'm gonna do that, and I'm gonna do that. You are going down in the 1 minute game. Well, this is probably true, but I'm trying hard to get to that 1 minute, and then we can have some fun. That's a check. And then I'm going to move the queen and play probably knight to g5, one of the knights to g5, with the idea of putting it on a6. So we probably should think about taking here with the rook, not the queen, because that's hanging. So he needs to think quite carefully. Good move. I'm going to go knight g5, for better or for worse. And I think bishop takes f3 wouldn't be a bad idea. Now my king is looking a bit airy. I need to be very careful. 43 seconds left. Got to be very careful in this position. Don't want him to mate me, but I do want to put my rook on the G file. And he's going to go rook h6. Subtle, subtle. And I think my king is relatively safe. The question is, what do I do now? I've kind of left myself in a position where the rook is doing all the defending, and I can get my queen active if I can just get some time. I might be able to get that on prise. I might be able to mate him on g8. Yeah, I think he's in trouble there because I think queen e8 was curtains. Queen takes e5 is threatened, and if he moves the bishop, then I can mate him on g8 probably, or e8 with the queen. Not an easy position to play with either colour. So now I think I've got black, and it's 1-5. This is always don't you dare call me a flagger. What else do I have here? If I can beat him in the 1 minute game, I'll be very pleased, because I'm not the world's greatest fan of bullet chess, as I said. But when you have to play it, you just have to play it. There you go. So let's just play chess, and I have got a line to play against you. and let's see what happens. I'm pretty much playing the same line that we were playing in our previous games. Basically what I want to do is play a kind of reverse Grand Prix attack with the bishop here rather than here, and then with any luck attack him on the king side. Play knight f6, castle king side, put my queen here and bring it to h5. Oh, hello. Should I take that? Go on and take it. I've got to watch out now, this is a weak square. So the question is, can I play queen e8 to h5 anyway? Probably. Queen e8 to h5 with the idea of knight g4 and mate on h2 again. And I have some tricks on d4 as well, so it's got to be very careful at that point when I go queen h5 and knight g4. I'm not bothered about your possibilities. I'm trying to... Oh, actually this is a good move, actually. That's a nasty move. Okay, bishop takes f5 would have been good in that position, I believe. Now what? Let's just develop some pieces. Develop some pieces. Put my rook on e8. Okay, so the trick if you're playing white in this position is to just develop some pieces and try not to make any committal pawn moves. Because really you should just be able to flag me 10 times out of 10. And I don't mind if you open the game up because this is hanging. So I'm just going to do that. Just going to do that. See if I can win something. How many pieces are hanging in this position? This is double check, by the way. So I've got the idea of playing bishop c6 in this line. So I'm going to take on c1, and then I'm going to play bishop c6, pinning that knight. And with any luck, that might be enough to win the game. That was a good move. Bishop g2. Now the queen is on freeze. What I really want to do is open up this diagonal and conquer it, but the bishop is on g2. So maybe I can get rid of that bishop by sacrifice. Oops. That was probably a finger slip. Probably a finger slip. So I don't think he played that deliberately. I think he probably played queen f2. By mistake, and I'm not really sure how. You can't really do takebacks, but we'll play another game after this because I'm fairly certain queen f2 was just a dropped piece while he was moving with a mouse. Well, I should be able to win, even with 15 seconds I should be able to mate him here, but we'll see. We will see. Who knows, he might actually win this. It's very difficult to actually find sensible moves in this position. Yeah, it's very difficult to find any moves in this position, so who am I kidding? He's just trying to flag me. Don't blame you. That's checkmate. Listen, I think that queen f2 if you can hear me, that Queen F2 was probably a fortunate finger slip for me. But if you fancy a rematch, we can play 1 minute against 5 again and just see what happens. But I reckon what we should do is have another match another time. And yeah, thanks very much. It was a good game. It was a good match, and we should do this again with a slightly different format, because I think probably 5-all is probably too much of a handicap. But possibly we could start off with a time handicap based on comparative rating difference. So I'll leave Chesspatzer UK to think of that kind of format. In another game that I play occasionally, Real Tennis. Thank you, Percy. In Real Tennis, what you often get is players who are basically Grandmaster level playing tennis against somebody who's like my level, and there is a handicapping system which makes it really good fun. You can get a sensible game, and in chess the equivalent might be thank you. It was a good match, but I think 5-0 is flattering. But thank you, Russell. The equivalent in chess of that handicapping system is obviously a time handicap. So depending on the rating difference of the players, you just start off with 1 against 5, and you never get more. You're coming over. That's very good. Well, I was very pleased to meet one of the Chesspatzer community at the tournament today. Percy Hepworth in person introduced himself. So welcome to you, and I'm sure I'll see you again online. What I'm going to do next stream is, apart from playing some chess, I've got 9 videos from a Blitz tournament that a friend of mine organised recently in Holland Park, and I had the camera trained on board one throughout, and I've got all 9 games from the winner, Peter Sauray, who's a FIDE master, strong player, but still he thought winning that event 9-0 was extraordinary. And I've got all his games, so what I'm going to try and do is stream them and commentate on them, so you'll be able to see those games live in one box, and then you'll be able to see the moves on the board in another box, and you'll be able to see and hear my commentary of those games, which should be quite an interesting idea. If you've ever seen something like the master game, that might be an interesting format we could play with. We'll have to play a longer time control next time, then I'll know how the PCs move. Yeah, that's a very good point. Ironically, I think the longer time control won't favour you, and I think Russell, I think Chesspatzer UK will probably agree. I think between players who are relatively strong and players who are relatively weak, the longer time control tends to favour the stronger player, because as you get more time to think, so do they, and they're generally sharper and a bit more accurate. What you really want is to play a lot of games against stronger players where they only have 1 minute. Doesn't matter what you start out with, but preferably you should have more time and they should have 1 minute, because as Jack said, and he's quite right, it gets very random. First game mouse slip, first move. So 1c3 wasn't deliberate. That's interesting, because it's not a bad move. But yeah, of course, seeing your subsequent moves, I can see that you play the English. So yeah, that makes some sense. c3 might have seemed a little unusual, but it's not a bad move, just pretty unusual. But here's a question: what kind of mouse are you using? Are you using a wireless mouse? Are you using a wired mouse? I discovered that even though a wireless mouse is very convenient, it just played havoc with my online chess. Yes. So the first thing I recommend is that you switch back to a wired mouse if you've got a spare USB port. Yep. I didn't spend 17 hours, but I did actually spend quite a lot of time watching previous streams from Chesspatzer UK, where I happened to catch sight of a few of Russell's games, so I knew he played certain lines in the Roy Lopez, and I think I spotted an English in there. But go back to a wired mouse for the moment, and you won't get such a... I managed to drop several pieces in online games just because my wireless mouse was lovely, but just unreliable for speed chess. 4NCL. Yeah, Percy Hepworth is saying the 4NCL, the Four Nations Chess League, which is a fantastic league if you can afford to take part. It's quite expensive because you have to travel there and you have to usually pay for accommodation. It's a fantastic league and you get to play some strong players, and he's saying, yeah, I can keep out the stronger players by being really, really careful. And that's true. But quite often what happens is you end up losing the game, not tactically, you know, you don't necessarily drop pieces, but you lose positionally in a way that makes you think at the end of the game, what did I do wrong? And that's when it's interesting to have the comments of stronger players. Yep, chesspatzer UK, I'm quite happy to do a longer time control for precisely that reason. So if you want to set something up, Russell, I'm quite happy to do that. Probably something like 15 minutes each. No, I'm glad, to be honest. The less blitz I play, the better for my mental health and for my repetitive strain injury. So this is the 4NCL website. I thoroughly recommend the 4NCL. I stopped playing in it because it got a bit expensive for me, but there's so much stuff going on. They not only organise a junior 4NCL, they organise a congress, a series of congresses, which are FIDE rated. There's the league, which has about 500 or 600 players, and I don't know, it's just a very, very good idea, well executed. So I thoroughly recommend it. 4ncl.co.uk, and they've got a Facebook page and a Twitter feed. Okay, so thanks very much for the game. It was a very interesting match. I think it was flattering, the score, but I'm happy to play more matches with any chesspatzer. I don't think I'll be quite as lucky against Chesspatzer UK next time, but if I had a gauntlet, I would throw it down, or at least I would throw it at the screen, and then we can play Countdown Chess again. It's great fun. 4NCL match in Doncaster the other month. I didn't go there, but I know that it was in a congress in a very nice hotel. They always have very nice venues. But there's also another Doncaster Congress every year, so they have 2 congresses, and I think they have the 4NCL there as well. So there's lots of stuff going on in Donny, which is one of the reasons I play in the Sheffield League, because I go and meet my friends in Doncaster and go out for a drink, play chess, go out for another drink. It's great fun. Chesspatzer dueling. Okay, I have to go and eat. So, thanks very much for the games, and I'll see you online very soon. Thanks for watching. chessengland.com if you want to find out more about stuff that I do.